This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, Westchester, and the world. John Bailey, White Plains Week, and Jim Benerofe, the Dean of Journalism in the city of White Plains. I finally said it clearly after all these years. Jim, you have the headlines for us.
And here are the headlines for the back-to-school week in White Plains, September 7th, 2018. First week of school is sweltering as heat and humidity challenge sanity. The eastern span of the new Tappan Zee Bridge opens on Saturday. White Plains schools open to record enrollment. School superintendent and mayor welcome students on first electric school buses as proud parents look on. Who squealed on the White House gang? Not me, says all members of the cabinet. Trump calls it fake news. Times anonymous op-ed writer escalates war between the president and the press. Common Council reviews independent living project for 120 Bloomingdale Road. Council approves White Plains Mall zoning, approves 174 Westmoreland Avenue tax breaks, also approves tax breaks for Westchester Avenue apartments and retail. Milagros Lacuna protests. Good Counsel property apartments hearing continued until October. White Plains Schools introduces video promoting advantages of White Plains schools. We'll have video. Greenberg notes its green customers saved $200 a year on green energy option. Burt Reynolds dies at 82. Jazz Festival begins this coming week in White Plains. Go to the White Plains Bid website for times and performers.
Thanks, Jim. And we right away go to the last great holiday weekend of the summer. And it's out at Glen Island. We shot this on Saturday. It was a cloudy Saturday, typical Labor Day weather. And, oh, the dog was swimming out there, retrieving something out in New Rochelle Harbor. Fishermen were all along the breakwater. Picnickers were there, enjoying it, really having a good time. And, oh, man, does that look good or not? And that's what Labor Day holidays are all about. And the drawbridge was opening up. Isn't that intriguing? You rarely see that happen, but the boaters were out. And it was a wonderful Labor Day weekend, but then the heat rolled in on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was brutal.
That was for sure.
It really was. You've lived here a long time. Do you recall of us ever having such a siege of heat and humidity?
Not offhand. But I'll tell you, it was uncomfortable.
It really was, and everybody was really working hard and doing the best they could under the heat. And when the kids were doing a great job under the heat because they went to school in White Plains on Wednesday, and there's a picture of Dr. Joseph Ricka, the superintendent of schools, on the left, and Mayor Tom Roach on a bus, the first electric bus to be used in White Plains and New York State. And they were on a pickup, and they were greeting students at the bus stop. I believe that coming up, you'll be watching them pick up the first official student. And there he is. And you can hear that fantastic horn that the bus has. You will never miss this bus approaching. And we saw a lot of parents along the route, and there he is, Luis, the first official electric school bus rider. And all along the routes, Dr. Ricka and Mayor Roach got out and greeted the parents and their children, and this was the Ridgeway bus they were going to. And this young lady, when she got on the bus, really remarked how great it was that it was air conditioned. Man, I tell you, these kids today, this was great that they got air conditioned buses. And there they are pulling into Ridgeway School at the end of the bus trip, which took about 40 minutes. They picked up, I believe, about 15 children on my count on the bus. And it was a very busy morning on the first day of school. And after the bus pulls in, you'll be seeing Dr. Ricka welcoming kids off the bus, which is always a nice thing to be welcomed by your superintendent of schools. And really, it was such a happy day watching those children coming off. These were the first electric bus riders there. Dr. Ricka on the left, welcoming them in. And there's our little star at the first outset of the video there. And of course, this was pretty well covered by the media, but a great first day of school. And another great thing about the first day was they had a video introduced on YouTube and talking all about the White Plains School District, and we'll show you some of that towards the end of the show. So stay tuned if you want to feel good. It's a great video. Now, we were also, Jim, Governor Cuomo had another blockbuster announcement this week. The Tappan Zee Bridge Eastern Span is finito, and there it is in the top shot. This is a official New York State photo, and there is the beautiful eastbound span swooping in, and on the left at the top you can see the bridge in action as it was up there, and below, that's what's to come. You're going to have bicycle lanes with place to rest, and then the next shot you can see a place that where pedestrians can go and walk and overlook, and that will be built next on the bridges. And final shot here, you can see that there is a nice little place to sit and rest, have a picnic or something. It'll really be nice hearing all those cars rush by right next to your picnic, won't it? I mean, that's just what you want. All that exhaust, honking. I mean, this is a great concept.
Hopefully everybody by that time will have electric cars.
No doubt, the silent cars. In fact, that was one thing about the electric bus. It was very, very silent. Now, what also the governor said, Jim, was that the bus express lanes are going to be opened this fall. I hear that's going to be in October on that eastbound bridge. So we eagerly await that, and we eagerly await the easing of the traffic on 287 but we do have no idea when that's coming. I mean, this has got to be a task force, the most secret task force ever, that is planning this bus rapid transit. There's never been any announcements, no official timetables. That just sort of gets dribbled out. And then, like little press mice in the press room, we just nibble for it, you know? So truly, I mean, do you think it's really going to make a difference, that second span, in the way traffic is now?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't bet on it. Let me put it that way.
I know, unless you find some way to fit all those 4 lanes of traffic into 3, which is what you're going to do, you're still going to have that backup, right? But of course, we said that before they started building a bridge. Hey, you got to build more than 1 more lane in each direction. And they didn't do that. So we will see how it works out. Now, the big question here is, who squealed on the White House gang? Because this is the op-ed piece that really set the tone of the news for the week as we give a report on Mr. Trump. And I've written a little something about perhaps one of the worst weeks we have seen. The war between the president and the press and the people escalated to open hostilities this week. As the hearing to confirm Judge Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court opened, Democrats were outraged when redacted documents outlining Judge Kavanaugh's history of decisions and opinions and memos, and also unredacted stuff numbering in thousands, were withheld by the White House and also distributed, but Democrats were given only 1 day to read. One wonders if they ever read the legislation they passed, right? The hearings opened with protesters in the balcony raucously condemning the Kavanaugh nomination, with many arrested and hauled out of the hearing chambers. It is not the first time Senator Grassley, the head of the Judiciary Committee, has had protesters arrested. White Plains' Elena Sauer was one of the first. She was arrested many years ago when she was protesting a judge nominee, and she spent 6 months in jail for contempt of Congress. I was outraged by that, but nobody else reported it except the CitizenNet reporter. Highlight of Judge Kavanaugh's answers were how few straight answers he gave. And what did you think of those hearings?
Well, I've been watching a lot of it, you know, I think it's going to be very hard for them to turn them down. I mean, the Republicans have control, and the only thing is if the hearings were to go beyond the midterm elections, then maybe there would be a change. Yeah. But I don't think that's going to happen, and I think he'll be confirmed. I don't know a whole lot about him as an individual other than what I've heard on the show. Why they wanted to withhold the documents from the Bush administration is really strange. You know, that to me raises a heck of a lot of suspicion. And, you know, it would indicate that there's stuff in there. And I mean, Cory Booker
yes,
released
as a matter
some
of
stuff.
Yes, Grassley threatened to throw him out of the Senate under a certain law.
And he's
unbelievable.
And well, Cory Booker said, "Go ahead, bring the charges on."
Yes.
I think that would be a huge Republican mistake, but you never can tell.
You know, they seem prone to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the mistakes are just not smart. Just not smart. The week of hearings proceeded into today, Friday. We're taping on Friday morning. The banana republic atmosphere in Washington was as thick as the humidity surrounding Washington and White Plains this week. Mr. Trump advanced the policy to enable the Border Patrol and immigration to detain immigrant children incarcerated for 2 years. Mr. Trump called for tougher libel laws for publishing press reports deemed not true. And that was before that op-ed piece appeared. And President Trump called it fake news, this op-ed piece. And from the fake New York Times, as he phrased it. He demanded the Times release the name of the writer. Melania Trump spoke out in defense of her husband. Up and down the White House staff and cabinet each said, not me, not me. Hey, who me? I would let you down, boss.
Has Sarah Huckabee Sanders denied?
Yes, but let's see. She said everybody should call up, protest this. And the op-ed furor erupted one day after Robert Woodward's book Fear appeared, with the New York Times, surprise, getting an advanced copy. Unbelievable how you...
Well, there's other people that have advanced copies.
Yes,
too,
right.
The New York
But
Times.
the New York Times got one, probably the Washington Post. I wonder if the National Enquirer got
No,
one.
I ordered 2 copies of the book.
Yes.
It'll be available on the 11th, but they sent me an email today that it was going to be available on the 11th, so I assume they have it in stock.
Yes. Now, you cannot make this stuff up, but this op-ed piece, which I think everybody should read, is fascinating in that the writer says that we may no longer have Senator McCain, but we will always have his example, a lodestar for restoring honor to public life and our national dialogue. Mr. Trump may fear such honorable men, but we should revere them. There is a quiet resistance within the administration of people choosing to put country first, but the real difference will be made by everyday citizens rising above politics, reaching down across the aisle and resolving to shed the labels in favor of a single one, Americans. And basically saying that it's time to end this. But I think it has more credibility if the person speaks out and reveals their name.
Yeah, I do not in any way, shape, manner, or form think this resembles anything close to treason. As a matter of fact, the fact that they aren't revealing this stuff before this, I think, is a really serious problem.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Tillerson denied calling Trump a moron.
Yeah.
Now, somebody denied calling him an idiot.
Yeah.
This can't keep coming out like this. That's 2 different people that were accused. This is going on, and this is happening. Yeah. And the sooner we talk about it openly, the better off we're going to be.
That would be nice. Bipartisanship has to be somehow have to reinvent itself, as they always say. Now let's go local to the exciting news that happened in White Plains at the Common Council. 120 Bloomingdale Road property was presented with a new plan. That is the overhead view of the way it looks now. Hale Avenue at the top, and what is that? Bloomingdale Road on the bottom there, and on the right, that building is the Department of Labor building. And in that place, they plan to present this building. Next slide. There we are. And this is going to be for an independent living a facility, about 132 units, and it is aimed, Jim, at the over 70s, but who are completely functional like us, right?
Yes.
Exactly, right. And then next slide, we have the overhead view of the 2 buildings, one on the left and a parking garage on the right, and there is the beginning on the far right of the standing labor building, and all the parking for both the labor building and the new facility will be in the parking garage, and there'll be a park just above the 2 new buildings. If we get the next shot, we'll get a close-up view of that park. And there it is. And this is also, the buildings themselves will only be viewable for 2.5 stories. They're 5-story buildings. The neighborhood along Hale and Independence Avenue there will only see 2.5 stories. And they will have this lovely park, which will replace the dumping area, which it has been used for many years. And this is going to be this was closed, but they will probably be voting on it soon. And then we also have had progress on the Westchester. The council approved the Westchester development along Westchester Avenue that has been languishing. Do you remember anything about that?
That was called the Connection.
Connection, correct.
They had originally planned putting a hotel there, which I think is not going to go there anymore. You know, I think it's a good location for apartments. I think it's going to add to the traffic congestion on Westchester Avenue.
It will definitely do that. I mean, that's what we want.
You know, I wasn't at the council meeting, but they said Milagros Lacuna protests. I don't know specifically.
She is upset that not only did the Connection get tax breaks from the county IDA, but also they got tax breaks for Westmoreland, the Westmoreland Avenue building that's building residences, and still has not started selling the residences or renting them. And we wonder when that is going to happen. And there was also a third set of tax breaks. But be that as it may, Ms. Lacuna said these companies come in, we approve the projects, and paraphrasing her, then all of a sudden they say the project isn't feasible unless we get tax breaks, and they do that way down the line. But has it always been done this way, James?
I don't think it's always been done. I heard from somebody that there's going to be more and more demand for tax breaks, I think based on something in the new tax law. And they really aren't going to be able to build without getting tax breaks. They're not going to be able to build economically.
Interesting.
I don't know the details of that, and you know, as I said, I didn't hear everything that Milagros said, but.
Well, that was her main point. She's tired of things being delayed for financing after they're all approved.
Yeah, well, I also think that we're building an awful lot of housing.
Yes.
And I question whether we can absorb that in a reasonable time frame. I mean,
we don't want to end up like Shanghai, right?
Well, that's true. You're going to, you know,
all those empty apartments out there.
Yeah, they built. Well, they built at least hundreds of buildings that are empty.
Empty buildings, right? Empty buildings in the old downtown, the old Western song. Now, some pleasant news to take you out. The school district yesterday, Thursday, presented a 10-minute video introduction to White Plains schools and what makes White Plains education great. And I have often thought the school district needs to do more to promote the uniqueness of the district and White Plains. This video does this uniquely, and it is as well produced as any of the commercials for big-time schools you will see on college football telecasts. Let's watch for the first 3 minutes of it and see what you think.
What are your hopes for the future?
I want to be the President of the United States.
In White Plains, there are no limits. There are no boundaries. There are no barriers to where you can go and what you can become.
White Plains school system is special because of the family atmosphere.
We want students to be ready for wherever they go. We want them to be global citizens.
There are so many opportunities for students to thrive in their academic careers as well as extracurricularly.
I've been able to really get to explore all of my interests through whether it be the engineering program at the high school or the arts and music programs that have been offered to me from kindergarten all the way up to middle school.
White Plains is such an amazing place with so much opportunity.
I'm going on to college next year, and I'm very confident that I will be prepared with whatever I need to succeed.
This district symbolizes what the world is.
When we talk about real-life learning, one of the things that our Board of Education and our district is committed to is making sure that our children aren't learning in isolation, that all of their experiences within the classroom and outside of the classroom connect to translate it to something that's actually going to be useful in life.
What's the role's conclusion?
So the caliber of education that the children receive in White Plains is beyond excellent.
It has a lot of benefits from being like a large school, so we get a lot of the extra events, we get a lot of field time, we have lots of resources open to us, you know, we have an amazing library.
You have smart boards in every classroom. I know the engineering room has 3D printers, which is really cool. There's multiple computer labs.
Our children have exposure to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics like you won't find anywhere else.
So is this a permanent change or a not permanent change?
Children, especially kindergarten first graders, are able to take a real life problem and work through it creatively and innovatively, applying all of the skills and concepts that they have learned outside of the program, such as math, science, and technology.
At White Plains High School, we have a student body over 2,000 students who can take rigorous courses to prepare them for colleges such as Harvard and Yale, to programs that will support students of diverse learners.
Through the Science Research Program, students have an opportunity to work alongside professional researchers in the field of interest that they're exploring. So we've had students in the past work at Regeneron Pharmaceuticals alongside researchers there. We've had students work at Memorial Sloan Kettering doing cancer research.
We've been very pleased with the course offerings, the variety of courses, the availability of honors, AP, college level classes.
Over 40 AP classes, honors and SUPA classes connected to be able to earn college credit.
Even with languages, I take Chinese, and I've had the opportunity to go to China multiple times with them. And I know that at a lot of other schools, they might not have the opportunity to do things like that.
Leaving college or going into the workforce, it's definitely an asset to be bilingual or trilingual.
And there you have the first 3 minutes of that video, and I hope to be able to put it up on the WPCNR website shortly. What did you think?
I was very impressed.
I was too.
I'll tell you, I think that Ricka is probably the best superintendent we may have ever had in White Plains.
Yes, he's only been here for a year, and he's very hands-on, and he's very articulate, and he actually says things specifically.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. And the question would be, the rest of the video features a section on White Plains' focus on the arts. It features an interview with Michael Craver, a White Plains graduate, about how the high school atmosphere creates and how it helped in. Mayor Roach talks about the schools and the convenience of White Plains to New York City, and teachers and students expand on these thoughts. The question is, how is this going to be used, and how will it help? But this is truly one of the best things I have seen come out of any school district, anywhere. And so we'll look to the rest of the school year, and we'll be interviewing Dr. Ricka and Dr. Deborah Hand on academic performance in October. So we'll have them on the air. Well, anyway, Jim, we've come to the end of the No White Plains Week. Peter Katz is on assignment tonight. So good night, Jim.
Good night.
And John Bailey saying good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.